Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. Thank you, all of my royalists, for joining me. Hello, everyone. If this is your first time, welcome. Now, today's lecture is all about the modeling world. When it comes to fashion, Black women have really ruled the catwalk. People like Naomi Campbell, Tyra Banks, and Iman have been the beauty standard for many years within the Black community. But before their unique beauty was celebrated and put on the covers of magazines, Black beauty was often rejected by the larger brands and modeling agencies. The first modeling agency was founded in 1923 by a man named John Roberts Powers, but not until the incomparable Madame Ophelia DeVore founded the Grace Del Marco Modeling Agency in New York City along with four of her friends in 1946 did Black models really have someone who could represent them. And they signed one model who became the first Black supermodel in the world. Her name is Helen Williams. Now, Helen Marie Williams Jackson was born in Burlington County, New Jersey on September the 16th, 1935. Her parents were Helen B. and Ellis L. Williams, and she had an older sister named Marietta. Now, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you for joining me for today's lecture. Helen is so interesting because she was always beautiful and she always had a sense of style. And when you look at women back from those days, their beauty was a different kind of beauty, a pure beauty. They weren't filled with all of this, toxins from the world and all the horrible food. And so she was a really, really pretty girl. So from a young age, she really liked fashion. So after graduating, she graduated in 1954 from Palmyra High School, and she relocated to Mount Clair, New Jersey when she was 17 to live with her aunt and uncle. And their names were Dorothy and Russell Rumble. Now, Helen was keen on fashion and she landed a job, if you can believe it, in New York at 17. That's another thing. Those girls back then, they would go anywhere to pursue their dreams. And they had a network around them, around family and people who were looking out for them. And you'll see that throughout her career, that people looked out for her and gave her some advice that really led to each step in her career that were good steps and they were positive for her. So it began with her being a stylist at a studio that took pictures. Now, styling nowadays is big business, but did you know way back in 1954 and 1955 they had stylists? And this studio would, stars would come in and do pictures. So she would style them for their photo shoots. And during a few of these photo shoots, allegedly, two stars took a liking to her and saw how beautiful she was. One was Lena Horne, and one was Sammy Davis Jr. And they said she should pursue modeling. Well, ultimately, the photographer, his name was Eric Neppa, and he said, "Look, Helen, you're beautiful. Let's take some pictures and let's see where they go." And they went very far because at that time, there really weren't a lot of Black publications to really support her work, but one did. And we see this over and over again with this magazine, Ebony and Jet magazine. Now, we know that it was founded by John Johnson and his wife Eunice back in 1945, and then Jet was founded in 1951, and she signed an exclusive contract with them to do modeling for them. Be sure to check out the Johnsons video down below. So interesting how they built Albany and Jet. Now, Helen was exclusive with them, but she wanted more opportunities, but no modeling agency would sign her until Madam Ophelia DeVore that I mentioned earlier. Now, this was, wonderful that here she had now Madame DeVore, and she was also with Ebony and Jet, but there was still a lack of opportunities for her. So she wanted more opportunities. She just didn't know how to get it. So Madame DeVore talked to her. She said, listen, you're beautiful, but you're not a white woman. So the white magazines were turning her down, and she even wasn't light enough. And remember, I did a lesson on the Blue Vein Society. She could have easily fit into the Blue Vein Society. Click down below so that you can see that video so you know what I'm referring to. But there was a lot of colorism back in those days, especially around photography and modeling and beauty. And so it was very difficult for her to fit in because they said she was too dark. Now, if you think this is a dark skinned woman, here's a picture of me. I think I'm a darker skinned woman, but look at the both uniqueness. We're both beautiful. And that's the thing about colorism. It strips people away based on the shade of their skin and defines their beauty. Beauty is all of us. It's in how we talk, how we act, how we carry ourselves, not just in our skin tone. So that was really a barrier for her when she was modeling. So Madame Divorce said, you have to go to Europe. If you really want to make a mark in the industry, you can't stay here in America. And Helen listened and she obliged. So many times we tell our kids stuff or, give advice to young people and they don't listen and they don't get the results that they want. So it was nice to see this young woman at only 17, 18 years old taking the advice of this woman and moving to Paris. It did not take her long to hit the scene and they loved her. You see, over in Europe, in Paris, they appreciated the black skin a lot more. Maybe it was because of all of the African immigrants that were in the country, but whatever reason, she was accepted. So upon arriving in Paris, it was wonderful. She began with Christian Dior and the fashion houses, they really loved her. She also modeled for Jean Dessès, and her nickname was La Belle Americaine. A rumor has it by the time she moved back to the States in 1960, she had three marriage proposals. I mean, she was a lovely woman. Of course she did. I'm sure she had more than three marriage proposals that didn't even come, out to the public. So she was well known. Now, I'm sure when she arrived back, she had hoped things had changed, but unfortunately, it did not. The modeling industry was still closed to black women, and this was in 1960s. So she said, "You know what? I'm going to do an interview." So she held an interview with a lady named Dorothy Kilgallen. And this is the same reporter, interestingly enough, who was unalive after, some information coming out about President Kennedy and Marilyn Monroe. So it's also interesting that all of these people are so intertwined during that time. And the other man who interviewed her at the time was Earl Wilson. Now, it worked because Budweiser and Loom Tags were the first ones to come to the table and offer her a contract. And after that, she became booked all the time. This was a sign that times were changing, so that was a good thing. And because of these ads that she was in, she was reaching a wider audience because her ads were going in things like the New York Times, Red Book, and even Sears. Now you have to be old school to know Sears, so if you know, you know. After becoming well respected and building a very lucrative and amazing modeling career, Helen retired in 1970 at 35. She continued, however, styling people and she even started painting. So it also shows that she was responsible with her money. She had made enough to live comfortably, and in 1977, she married Norm Jackson. This would be her lifelong partner until his passing in 2017. Helen passed on July 26, 2023, at 87 years old. She was suffering from Alzheimer and she was in East Riverton, New Jersey, in a care facility. So she had had a beautiful career, and I wanted to give her her flowers. She's not often spoken about, written about. When I went to look for information so that I can do this lecture for you today, I barely could find anything. And part of the reason too is I believe was because she had no children and her husband passed. So there's no one there to really carry the torch for her except here at Royal Black and Elite. You know, our audience is going to share the news. So share the video, get the word out about who Helen Williams was, our first Black supermodel, and the things that she had to overcome just to fulfill her goal and to make Black beauty worldwide. What an exciting and interesting life. I hope that you all enjoyed today's lecture. Hope you learned a lot. Make sure you share it everywhere about her. Give her her flowers. And thank you for joining me for another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. As always, my lectures are for entertainment and educational purposes only, and the Fair Act use is in effect. Now, click down below so you can continue learning about some other great Royal Black and Elite people in history. Thanks for joining me.